Little Hangleton slumbered. It was a town of old stone and older habits. Green fields rolled, sheep grazed, unconcerned. Life moved slowly, predictably. Then, on a Tuesday, it arrived. The cloud. It was not a cloud of rain, nor of storm. It was black, a deep matte black, like a hole punched in the sky. It hung low, directly over Miller's pasture. It did not drift, it did not swirl. It simply was an unwelcome guest, an impossible fixture. The villagers emerged from their cottages, one by one. They gathered at the edge of the lane, their faces turned upwards, eyes wide with a mixture of awe and unease. Old man Fitzwilliam, leaning heavily on his cane, declared it unnatural. Young Sarah Perkins, barely 10, asked if it was a spaceship. Her mother hushed her quickly. The air grew thick with unspoken questions. The cloud offered no answers. It just loomed, silent, ominous, a dark blot on their familiar world. A patient, watching void. Days bled into a week. The cloud remained, unchanged, unmoving. The initial curiosity began to curdle. It soured into a wary respect, then into a quiet dread. Young Thomas Ashton was the first, a lad known for his bravado and his foolish wagers. He'd boasted in the pub, the Red Lion, said he'd walk right under it, for a pint and £5. His mates had laughed, they'd dared him, he'd swaggered off. Towards Miller's pasture, towards the silent black stain, he did not return. Not that evening, not the next day. He was simply gone. His mother, Martha Ashton, a widow, was distraught. She searched. The whole village searched. They called his name until their voices were hoarse. They combed the fields, the woods, every ditch and hollow. There was no sign, no footprint, no dropped handkerchief. It was as if Thomas Ashton had never been. The police constable, Officer Grimshaw, made notes. He looked grim. He looked under the cloud, from a safe distance. He saw nothing, just grass, and the oppressive silent darkness above. Then old Mrs. Higgins' cat, Patches, disappeared. Patches was an adventurous soul, always chasing butterflies. She was last seen darting towards the edge of the shadow. Mrs. Higgins wept. Patches was her only companion. It added to the growing unease. The true, chilling nature of the disappearances began to dawn slowly, painfully. Martha Ashton went to retrieve a photograph of Thomas from his last school sports day. He was smiling, holding a small trophy. She found the album, she found the page. The space where Thomas should have been was changed, not empty but faded, as if he were a ghost even then. Then it was blank, just the background, the other children, but no Thomas. Her mind reeled. She screamed, a sound of pure, unadulterated terror. Others experienced it too. The Higgins family, distant cousins of the cat lady, tried to find a letter from her, a letter mentioning Patches. The ink describing the cat had vanished. The words were gone, the paper smooth, as if Patches had never been written about, never existed. The Ramblers hotel booking, no record. Their credit card transactions for the local tea shop, wiped. It wasn't just that people were missing, they were being unwritten from history. Fear became the new currency of Little Hangleton. It was traded in hushed tones, in averted gazes. Indoors bolted earlier than usual. The children were kept indoors. Their laughter, once a common sound, became rare, muffled. The village green, usually bustling with activity, grew quiet, deserted. Only the brave or the foolish ventured near Miller's pasture, and even they kept a wide berth. The shadow of the cloud seemed to stretch further each day, not physically, but in their minds, in their hearts. Paranoia began to set in. Was the cloud watching them? Did it choose its victims, or was it random, indifferent? Some whispered it was a government experiment gone wrong, hidden away in the quiet countryside. Others spoke of darker things, ancient curses, alien visitations. The rational explanations offered by outsiders, mass hysteria, a localized pollutant causing hallucinations, felt hollow. They did not explain the fading photographs, the erased records, the chilling, absolute void left behind. The authorities arrived in greater numbers. Police cars, unmarked vans, men in sober suits. They brought more sophisticated equipment, Geiger counters, atmospheric sensors, ground-penetrating radar. They set up a temporary command post in the village hall. They interviewed everyone. Again, their questions were precise, clinical, devoid of understanding. They were looking for a logical explanation, a crime, a natural disaster, something familiar, something they could manage. They found nothing. The scientists, a new batch, were equally perplexed. They launched drones. The drones flew towards the cloud, and then their signals vanished. The drones themselves were never recovered. They sent up weather balloons packed with instruments. The balloons drifted into the blackness and ceased to exist, or at least ceased to transmit. The cloud was impenetrable. With official channels offering no solace, the townsfolk turned inwards and outwards to stranger explanations. Old man Fitzwilliam, his earlier pronouncements of unnatural now seeming prophetic, spoke of ancient ley lines. He claimed Miller's pasture was a nexus, a weak spot between worlds. The cloud, he said, was a door, or a guardian. He pored over faded maps and dusty tomes, searching for forgotten lore, for some precedent, for some way to appease whatever lay beyond or within. Agnes Periwinkle, the village herbalist and self-proclaimed psychic, held séances in her dimly lit cottage surrounded by pungent herbs and flickering candles. She tried to contact the vanished. She claimed to hear whispers, fragments of voices carried on an unfelt wind. But the messages were confused, distorted, full of static, like a radio tuned between stations. She spoke of a great filter, a sorting, but what was being sorted, and by whom? Her pronouncements only deepened the mystery and the fear. The theories swirled, from the mundane to the mystical, each one a desperate attempt to impose meaning. The flimsy fence around Miller's pasture was soon replaced by something more substantial. Tall chain link, topped with barbed wire, manned by soldiers in camouflage, with stern faces and automatic weapons. Little Hangleton was officially quarantined. No one in, no one out, without special permission, which was rarely granted. The cloud was now a classified zone, a problem to be contained, not solved. The village became an island, marooned in a sea of normalcy. That no longer felt normal at all. The presence of the military brought a new kind of tension. They were an occupying force, albeit a polite one. They set up checkpoints, they patrolled the perimeter, their helicopters clattered overhead, disturbing the unnatural quiet. The villagers resented the intrusion, but they also understood its grim necessity. The cloud was a danger, a contagion, not of disease, but of unbeing. The soldiers, young men mostly, looked as unnerved as the locals. They avoided looking at the cloud, as if eye contact might be fatal. Life within the cordon became a strange parody of normality. Eleanor Vance was a retired botanist. She had lost her husband Arthur to the cloud. He had been a keen birdwatcher. He'd gone to Miller's pasture to see if the birds still sang near the shadow. He never returned. His favourite binoculars were found at the edge of the darkness. His image in their wedding photo was now a pale outline, a fading memory. Eleanor was not a woman given to hysterics or wild theories. She was a scientist. She believed in observation, in data, even when the data made no sense. She decided she could not simply wait for the cloud to take more, wait for her own memories to fade. She had to understand, or at least to try. She began to study the cloud from her attic window with Arthur's powerful telescope. She noted its absolute stillness, its perfect absorption of light. She recorded the atmospheric pressure, the temperature, the humidity, all normal except directly beneath it, where readings were impossible to obtain. She felt a pull, not of fear, but of grim curiosity. Eleanor devised a plan, a simple one. She would not risk another human life, or even an animal. She would send something inert. Hours passed. Eleanor waited. The sun rose, painting the normal sky with light, but the patch under the cloud remained a void. Then she felt it, a gentle tug on the line. Not a snag, something deliberate. She began to reel it in, slowly, carefully. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The glove emerged from the shadow. It looked unchanged. She reached for it, trembling. The tag was still there, but the writing was gone, wiped clean, as if her question had never been asked. Disappointment washed over her. Then she saw it. Something new was on the tag, not writing, not in any human language. It was a symbol, a complex, intricate pattern, etched into the plastic, as if by a fine laser. It pulsed with a faint internal light, barely visible. Eleanor stared at it, mesmerized. It was not a message of malice or of welcome. It felt neutral, informational, like a file extension or a catalogue number. The cloud was not a malevolent entity. It was not a doorway to hell or a random tear in reality. It was something else. The truth when it began to dawn on Eleanor, was far stranger and more impersonal. The cloud was a filter, a cosmic editing tool. It wasn't destroying people, it was de-accessioning them.